Taoiseach, spokespeople for Fianna Fáil and ministers for your own party have been expressing horror at the idea that people who may have earned less when working before COVID-19 are now getting €350 and essentially using that to justify suggestions that the €350 payment for those people, and indeed for many others who have already seen a reduction in income, should be cut. I just want to ask, do you think that is fair? Does it chime with the motto, we're all in it together, for ministers and TDs who earn multiples of $350 a week to be telling people who were essentially earning poverty wages that $350 a week is too much for them? And I cite, for example, Lisa, who I met on the Debenhams picket, who, by the way, has given permission for me to mention her name. She's worked for Debenhams since she was 16, for 20 years. She earned just under $350, but with overtime sometimes over $350. She was sacked by Debenhams unceremoniously, thrown on the scrap heap, and she says she doesn't want to be getting the $350 payment. She's applying for jobs, but she can't get a job at the moment. Do you honestly think it is fair to Lisa and to people like her, who've worked all their lives, never claimed social welfare, to even consider cutting her $350 payment?
Thank you. Deputy Taoiseach.
Yeah, if I picked up your description of that individual's case, Lisa's case, I'm not aware of anyone who's considering cutting her payment. Actually, it sounds like she was earning maybe 300, 400 euros a week, so nobody is considering that I'm aware of cutting the pandemic unemployment payment in that circumstance. Certainly not in the near future, when we're still in phase 1, phase 2, the early phases of the pandemic. And I have to say, I haven't heard anyone expressing horror at people getting 350 euros a week. You know, I'm the head of the government that actually introduced this, one of the most generous welfare schemes in response to pandemic unemployment in the world, and I stand over it. We did it because we wanted to get money to people quickly, people who needed it, people who lost their jobs, largely because of a government order to close the businesses in which they worked. And we stand over doing that. What we wanted to do was something a bit more logical and a bit more fair, which was to say that people would get 70 or 80% of their previous income with floors and ceilings, but we couldn't do that, so we had to just put out a flat payment, and that's what we did, and we stand over doing that. And that flat payment was 350 euros a week, 70% of average wages in the sectors most affected, as I explained before. I know people are trying to connect this to low pay, and I don't accept that argument. You know, somebody who is working full time on the minimum wage, 10.30 an hour, working 39 hours a week, would have been earning over 400 euros a week. Nobody's suggesting that the 350 be reduced in that case. Somebody earning the living wage, for example, working a full week, you know, would have been earning more than 350. Nobody's suggesting for a second that any of the people in that category should have the pandemic unemployment cut. What has been identified, and it's a common sense thing and lots of other people have, is there are people who are working maybe only 10 hours a week, perhaps earning 20 euros an hour for 10 hours a week, who were earning 200 euros a week throughout January and February and are now getting 350. And we're saying that's not sustainable, and that's not what was intended in the first place, but it was done for the right reasons.
Can you hear me, Taoiseach? Yeah, Richard, Deputy Boyd Barrett.
Yeah, he went way over time there. Look, Taoiseach, your minister has talked about cutting and tapering, okay? Regina Doherty said it was unsustainable to continue the COVID payment. Deputy Rabbitte for Fianna Fáil similarly said it was unfair and unsustainable. Now, it isn't. Those are for people who are earning multiples, suggesting that it was unsustainable, unfair, that it needed to be cut. That's what they said. Now, if you're backtracking, good. But I think you should give a clear commitment to people like Lisa, to people like workers in the arts, in retail, taxi drivers and so on, who may face protracted periods where, through no fault of their own, they will not be able to get back to the earnings they were previously earning or employment at all, that you will not cut the COVID payment for them.
Thank you, Deputy.
That's the commitment we need.
Very briefly, please.
Thanks, Deputy. I think you're making a different argument, and that is that everyone should be paid the exact same no matter what job they do, and I appreciate that's your political position, but that's not the position of very many people in this country. In terms of tapering, in terms of what people mean when we talk about tapering, it's important to bear in mind that the only people now who are getting less than what they earned before the pandemic are people who earned more than €350 a week. They're the ones. So if you were earning €700 a week, or €500 a week, or €600 a week, that has been reduced to €350 a week. Separate to that, there's a group who weren't earning €350 a week. They were earning, we'll say, €200 a week. They would all be part-time workers, not full-time workers, because if they were full-time workers on the minimum wage, they would have been paying more. They're a group that are getting paid more than they got paid before the pandemic happened. And anyone who's talking about tapering is talking about tapering in the context of making sure that any tapering ensures that people aren't worse off, or sorry, aren't better off than they were before the pandemic.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
The exception of people who earned over €350 a week, they are already worse off.
Okay, thank you, Taoiseach.